What is up? Welcome back, Creative Financial Network, Dustin Bezalel. And here we are excited today to talk to you a little bit about the concerns financially that we hear from business owners. So whether you're a business owner and have financial concerns, or whether you're an advisor or financial services representative that has business owner clients, these are the topics and things that we hear most of the time for them. When I got into the industry 21 years ago, my main focus was providing business owners that were solely owned and operated to about 10 to 20 employees with financial advice. This was anywhere from people that were service related business owners. So a guy, for instance, that owns a pool, company, tree trimming, landscaping, flooring, anything related to service. Cash business owners could be, an individual, a lady, for instance, that owns a hair salon, nail salon, interior design studio, a law firm, a physician practice, again, all walks of life. When we have the privilege of speaking with you as a business owner, we have a twofold, concern that we've got to look at. So number one is business owners that are, have 1 to about 20 employees. They're typically the first one in, the last one out, and their business and the success of their business is obviously dependent upon them and how they show up. So they're the first one in, the last one out. And again, the employees, the success of the business is relying on their shoulders. And they're looking to drive sales, they're looking to drive revenue. And when they go home, they're going home to be with their spouses, significant other, and kids, and raise their family and do what they do on the personal side. So one is they've got a business concern or business concerns that how do we attract and retain employees? Okay. How do we attract and retain key people or key executives, if you will? What are we doing to provide, retirement benefits to our employees? What are we doing to provide benefits to them as a whole? And then separate from that, the business owner, him or herself, has personal financial concerns at their house, right? There are businesses that we work with that there really is nothing that they can or really want to do for their employees. Not that it's a bad thing, but their employees would prefer to just make more money on their hourly or their weekly paycheck or their annual salary. So as far as employee benefits are concerned, there's really no, I would say, need or concern there. But for a business owner, key person, right? If I have a key person that I'm dependent upon, or they drive revenue, if they passed away or became disabled, I want to make sure that my business is protected in case of that. So that's key person life, key person disability. If a business owner has a larger business and they have a 401k, they have employee benefits, but they're looking to compensate high earners or key executives, there's different things that they could do. So executive bonus plans that they can basically pick and choose who they give this plan to. But the biggest ones that we really, I would say, guide, and I personally love to guide them, are the ones that are solely dependent upon the success of their business, where when they wake up in the morning, right, their business will not run unless they're there. So they're looking at, Dustin, how do I put some things in place that if I pass away prematurely or I become disabled, my business can continue on, and separate from that, my personal household can sustain. So again, life insurance is a basic one. Disability coverage is another basic one. They also want to put money away for their kids' college, even though it is a business itself. And then lastly, 85 of business owners roughly in the United States today, if they're asked what is their retirement plan, they're going to say, my retirement plan is actually selling my business. Approximately 85% of people depend upon selling their business to actually being able to retire the right way. So when we have the ability to speak with a business owner, what I'll often ask them is, what do you do? And they say, oh, I own ABC company, right? So they own ABC company, whatever that might be. And I'll say, how many employees do you have? They say, I've got 20 employees. Awesome. So you got 20 employees. I'll ask those individuals, what is your annual payroll for those 20 employees? And they're going to say, Dustin, it's roughly $1 million. So what I would always ask these business owners is, what do you have in place for retirement? They say, well, my business is my retirement. Would you hire a full-time employee today or a part-time employee today where that cost is $50,000 is the average? Or the part-time employee for $25,000, would you hire again, the full-time or the part-time employee today, but that employee will not come to work tomorrow to basically do a task or a job that you have them do. This basically is going to put into XYZ account that will basically pay you income when you go to retire. And if you can't sell your business for whatever reason, there's a change in the economy, there's a change in the business that you're in, at least you have a sum of money that could sustain and pay yourself an income. So what we look to do is get business owners in the habit of what we call paying themselves first versus paying every bill that they have in their drawer, usually to the left or the right of whatever their desk might be. So what we do is, again, is get in the habit of coming up with a certain amount of money, hiring a part-time employee or a full-time employee that, again, pays them a sum that they're at least saving. My advice for those individuals is always to do it on a monthly basis. A lot of businesses and a lot of business owners are cyclical, where they'll have big months and they'll have down months. And they'll want to wait. They'll say, Dustin, can I wait till the end of the year to do this? The answer is, of course. But then what happens is they're reliant on having to make the deposit. So personally, what I like to advise them to do is get out of human, what do you call it? The ability for them to make an error, if you will, and having the ability to spend money on something nonsensical. So my advice is always take a sum of money that you can live with, that sustain X amount of dollars every month, 500 a month, 1,000 a month, 250 a month, 5,000. It doesn't matter the number, but a certain amount of money that business owner is comfortable putting away every single month into some sort of account that is earmarked for them and their family. And if they have a great quarter or a great year, they're able to add monies into that. Having that habit of just doing it every single month typically is much, much more successful than just taking a one time a year, deposit. Separate is when they're making those investments, they're doing something called dollar cost averaging, where they're buying funds, if you will, or different investment structures, whatever it might be, at a high or a low. They're not looking to just time the market. What happens to your business if you die tomorrow? Depending upon the business could be shut down. There's a family member that would have to step in and take over. There's an employee that could step up and take ownership of that, role. But a lot of business owners don't want to have the business obviously go out of business. And if they're in a business that it's inventory driven, like a diamond business or a jewelry business or something that has a lot of inventory, they don't want to have a fire sale, right? So what we often do is, how do we put something in place like a life insurance policy that could be owned by the business? And then that is going to be used to offset any type of tax liability. So if you're a business that has a partner or partners, what happens if a partner or partners die, right? So one of the things that we look to advise business owners to do is fund an actual buy-sell agreement. A lot of business owners will say, well, I have the legal document drafted and it's drafted through our operating agreement, but there is no funding mechanism of it. So what we'll suggest is a funded buy-sell agreement that is typically entity owned, meaning the business is the owner of a life insurance under disability policy. Owner 1, 2, and or 3 or 4 are insureds of those policies. The business is the payer of the policy. And then if and when that one of the owners die, the business is actually the beneficiary of the policy as well. So what do you do to retain key executives or key employees that are high income earners and they're constantly getting approached by other companies to go and work for them? You can implement what's called an executive bonus carve out that would actually, you're funding as a business X dollars every year into an account that is basically for that employee. But that employee has to fulfill a certain period of time of working with the company. If they don't, the business will retain ownership of that account. If they do, that account becomes that employee's if they've, again, fulfilled their, call it, obligation to the company. Again, a really cool way to retain key people, and they think twice. We call it golden handcuffs before they go to a competitor across the street. So business owners and businesses are looking always for ways to fund things on a tax advantage basis. Putting together a 401k, putting together and having disability coverage, paying for life insurance, paying for health insurance, all of that on a group basis is all tax deductible. And separate, you can also put together, as I said a minute ago, an executive bonus plan that would actually be deductible as well. Individual benefits, as the business owner, if it's a smaller company, you can actually put individual plans in place on yourself where the business pays for those things. But regardless, if you're doing any of those things, consult with your CPA. So the other thing is, a lot of times business owners that are smaller in nature, not less profitable. When I say smaller, they don't have a ton of employees, or the employees that they have are looking for a higher paycheck or a higher wage per hour. They're not looking for benefits. So the biggest concerns that we hear from business owners like that, again, a lot of service related businesses, is the business makes a lot of money, but they have personal, meaning the owners of the businesses have personal needs at home. So for instance, if you have a gentleman owns a landscaping company, tree trimming business, flooring, whatever it is, he's got a wife and he's got kids at home. The employees aren't looking for benefits. But if he dies tomorrow, that business will typically go out of business or have to go on sale immediately for somebody to purchase, which is not exactly the easiest thing to do and find. So that business owner is going to always say, Dustin, what do I do? Very simply put, get a simple life insurance policy. If that business owner is around, 40 years of age, $1 million of coverage, or for every $1 million of coverage is about $40 a month. A disability plan, depending on the type of business. If again, they're age 40, every $100,000 of income that they earn would be about $122 a month, which they can use as a tax deduction as well. And then putting money away, where, as I mentioned a minute ago, they're paying themselves first, which is basically allowing them to just save for themselves and their future and their family, allowing them to be able to retire, whether they're able to sell their business or not. So those are the three immediate recommendations we have for smaller business owners. So most business owners, when they're asked, what is your retirement plan? Approximately 85% of those business owners say, I'm selling my business. Now, a lot of times businesses can be sold, but there are certain businesses that things happen, right? Things happen in the economy. The business goes out of business. If you remember, two companies, Lyft and Uber, came out of nowhere, that if somebody owned a taxi cab company years ago, they made a lot of money and they were prevalent. There were yellow taxi cabs all over the place. Today, those companies are not as valuable. So what we often say is plan for the worst and hope for the best. And having 85% of business owners that are just relying on selling their business is not, again, in my opinion, planning for the worst and hoping for the best. What do you do? How do you get in the habit of doing that? So again, I'll ask the question of, what is the name of your company? Company's name is ABC Company. I'll ask those in that business owner, how many employees that do you have? They'll say, Dustin, I've got 10 employees. Handwriting is not my skill set. I have 10 employees. And what is your annual payroll for those 10 employees? They'll say it's $500,000. So you're paying on average $50,000 per employee that you have. Would you, as a business owner today, hire another full-time employee at $50,000 a year salary? Or would you hire a part-time employee at $25,000 a year salary, but that employee will not come into work tomorrow? What that money is going to do is be used to fund XYZ retirement account, so that whether you as the owner of the company are able to sell your business or not, you have enough of a nest egg sitting there to allow you to retire one day in the future. If you're a business owner and any of this makes sense, hits home, and is causing a stomach ache, a headache, and you need more information to know how do you plan accordingly for your business and your family, reach out to us today, and we're happy to sit with you one-on-one.